What's up, y'all? Daryl D TV, back with another comic haul. Um, Picked up some cool stuff I want to show you guys. About a week ago, there was a record show here in Phoenix, and a buddy of mine, actually two buddies of mine, and myself, we all set up to sell records. Now there were other things that people were selling other than records in there, so there were concert tees. There was like a toys. Some guy was selling like vintage horror toys, vintage toys from the 70s and 80s. There was a lot of like movie posters and concert posters, and but it was mostly vinyl. Well, set up right next to us was a guy who had a lot of vintage toys. Like he had a lot of um, old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle items that was going like hotcakes. He had some really cool VHS, um, old VHS TV series and movies and cartoons and whatnot. He had a lot of cool stuff. So I was looking around um, uh, at his table, and he also had like a box of comic books. So of course, I went through there, and what was interesting about the comic books he was selling is that most of them were these kind of weird independent titles, some stuff I've never heard of, stuff I've never seen before. He did have some, Marvel and DC stuff in there, so there was some familiar stuff, but most of the stuff I wasn't familiar with at all. And he was selling everything for a buck a piece. So he even had like some big what do you call them? Some books like the comic book, like comic like hardback books, and he also had some trade paperbacks, and he was selling all those for $5 a piece. So some real good deals there, real good deals. But I went through there and I picked up some stuff that I thought was cool. I want to show you guys what I picked up. Some of this stuff I might not keep, but I just thought it was interesting to buy and at least read. And a couple of the books that jumped out, excuse me, right away were these first two I want to show you because they're issue number ones. And this is issue number one of Nick Fury and his Agents of Shield. This is in pretty nice condition too. So he actually had um, the first five issues of Shield. Issue 2 through 5 were like really really beat up. And to be honest, I have never been a fan of Nick Fury ever. I can't tell you a whole lot about a government official or employee that's mean and tries to push the superheroes around or whatever. That's about the most I know about Nick Fury. But I couldn't just leave this issue number one there for $1. So I just had to pick it up. I'm not sure what I'm going to end up doing with it. Another one was Rima, the Jungle Girl, issue number one. I do believe he had some other issues of this book as well. But number one, I just couldn't leave that behind. This one I think I'll definitely read, but I don't think it's something that I need to keep, um, in my personal collection. Uh, some other ones that I thought was cool was this is Spoof. You remember Spoof, the comic book from, what was it, the 70s or was it the 80s? I think it was the 70s. Anyway, this is issue number 2 that features Archie Bunker on it. So I thought that was cool. I'm not sure if I've ever owned a Spoof before. Uh, so that was cool that, they had this one in there. Again, I don't know how many of these I'm actually gonna keep. Now this was a nice find there. This is Zap Comics, number 4, I think that is. Number 4. This is one of the later pressings. You can tell that just by the $2.50 price on there. So this could be printing number 10 for all I know. But the first printings have, I think, a 50-cent price tag on the cover. I think it's 50 cents. So it would just, as they would sell out and they would, reprint them, it got to be a little bit more, I think, every time. So this being a $2.50 cover shows that this is one of the latest, later printings of it. But it's still Zap. And if you know anything about underground comics, then you know what this book is all about. I'll definitely be passing this one along to somebody. Now, here's a book that I've never seen or heard from this. It's from Sigma Comics. It immediately reminded me of Black Panther, of course. This is Here Comes Calico, and that's issue number 1 of that. You guys ever heard of this book? You ever seen this book before? I thought it was pretty cool, and I was really digging the art. Seems like there's a lot of violence here. I'm not sure, based off of some of this art, I'm not sure if this guy, if he's the good guy or the bad guy. Because, like, right here, up here, he's like chopping a guy's arm off or something. So, I'm not exactly sure. I may have to read that today to see what's going on. I picked up a lot of number 1s. This is from, what is that, Nicotat Comics? I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Boris Adventure Magazine, issue number 1. Again, some indie stuff I've never heard of, but looked interesting. Sometimes when books are $1 or less, I don't even question it. I'll just buy it, and if it's something that I don't want to keep, I didn't break the bank doing it. Here's another issue number 1 from 1986. This is Phase 1. I really had no idea just how many indie companies were out there until, these last, 4 or 5 years. Just, you know how it is. Things were always Marvel, DC. Then you have certain other companies that were smaller, but you were familiar with them. I read a lot of E-Man. Remember E-Man? I read a lot of those books. I can't remember what company that was on. And then House of Yang was a favorite of mine back in the day. Companies like that, I recall. But you just didn't see a lot of these smaller companies. This was very interesting. I found a couple of these, and he had more of these, but I just picked up a few. I'd never seen it, and I have to admit the 10-cent cover was attractive. This is issue number 8 of Patsy Walker. And I don't have a lot of girly books in my collection, so I thought I'd pick it up and check it out and see what's going on with that. Now this one doesn't seem to show a comic company on it. This is in like really beat up condition, but it says Stan Lee is the consultant. Let me see if I can find anything. I don't see anything in terms of an actual company. There's nothing in here. I might have to take a closer look. But it does list Stanley as a consultant, which kind of makes sense because I have a Patsy and Heidi issue number 104, Career Girls, and this is definitely on Marvel Comics. 104 issues. I don't know how many came in this entire run, but I've never seen one of these before in all the digging that I've done. And if I have, I don't recall. I don't remember what it looked like. So, but yeah, I'll read them and I'll do something with them at some point. Now this was cool. This was a whole 5 issue run from 10 Ton Press of Becoming Frankenstein. And the art, really cool with this, with the art in here. Definitely something I can, I'm not like in love with the art, but it's good enough for me to read. Cause some books with, just some awful looking art I can't really get with. I don't have the patience to even read it. But that's issue number 1. There's number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, oh, and number 6. Actually, yeah, this is a 6 book run, and he had all of those, the entire run. So I'm looking forward to reading that at some point. And then this next one I saw, I immediately recognized the art of Jim Mafood. This is 2018. I'm a big fan of his art. He lived here in Phoenix for some years. When I first moved here, I got to meet him way back in the late 90s. And this is a book called what is it? Scud? Tales from the Vending Machine? Let me make sure I got that right. Scud. Tales from the Vending Machine. This is issue number 4. Let's get a close up of that so you can check out Jim's work. I always enjoyed his artwork, and then Jim's like a hip hop head to the core, so he always infused, at least back in those days, he always infused a lot of rap music and hip hop culture into his stories, into his art. And then this was a horror book. This is issue number 1 of 50s Terror, classic pre-code horror. I've never seen this book before. Anybody ever seen this? Can anybody tell me anything about this? What company is this? Eternity Comics. Got a $1.95 price on there. So all of these books I grabbed from the vendor that was right next to us. I'm sorry I can't remember his name, but I know he's on Instagram somewhere. But these were all a buck a piece. So, and he said he had like a short box there. It wasn't a full short box, but it was mostly full, and it had a lot more of this type of stuff in that box. He told me he had another 5-6 short boxes at home. So I don't know. He may set up. We're all gonna set up again next month, I believe, the middle of next month, and maybe I'll find some more stuff I can show you guys. Now, I just got back from Las Vegas, and I hit up about 4 shops over there while I was over there, and I picked up a few things. I want to show those to you too. Let's do a little unboxing here, or let's see, where's the other one of this one? Okay. So the first store I hit was a store called Velvet Underground. I don't know if you guys ever heard of that. Now, it ended up being a big disappointment, and here's why. At the last Old Man Con, which is my favorite Comic Con that takes place twice a year here in Phoenix, it's called the Scottsdale Comic Show, aka Old Man Con. And the reason why it's called the Old Man Con is, for the most part, it's just books. Nothing but books. You don't have a lot of people dressed up, or you don't have all of that other stuff. They may have some special appearances by some of these artists or writers or whoever, but outside of that, all you're gonna see is a big room full of books, which is all that I can ever ask for. And man, they've always had the biggest amount of underground books I've ever seen at a show or under one roof for that matter. So I was talking to one of the dealers, and I can't remember who it was. It wasn't a local dealer, but it was somebody. We got to talking about underground books, and this person was like, "Hey, there's a store in Vegas called Velvet Underground, and it's like 40%, of that store is underground books." That's what they told me. So ever since then, I have been like so excited to get to Vegas to check out this store because if you've seen some of my comic videos, I love underground books and I collect a lot of those. Well, I get to the store and I start digging immediately through the dollar books, and an employee, this woman, walks over to me and asks me if she could help me find anything. And I said, well, I'm going to look through some of these dollar books uh, for a while, but I'm looking for the underground comics. That's what I'm looking for. And she goes, well, let me see what I have, but those usually when they come in, they go out pretty quick. And I'm thinking, come in and go out pretty quick. She had there was one underground book in that entire store. One book that she knew about. Over the course of the time that I was in there digging, I do believe I found one or two more, maybe two more, just somewhere. Now it's not a huge store, but it's filled like wall to wall with books. If the store was twice the size or even three times the size, it could be so much more easier to look through stuff because there was stuff here, there was stuff there, it was kind of it wasn't organized and it wasn't easy to dig because they would have like boxes and boxes of books just stacked up like 5, 6 rows high, and it's like nowhere to really put them if you're trying to go into the lower boxes. And there was like 2 or 3 areas like that around the store. I would ask for, like, I was asking about comic magazines. uh oh, we got some right here. This is what we have. Okay, it's like a half of a magazine box, maybe a third. All right. That's everything. Yeah. Meanwhile, I find 3 other boxes on my own. Hey, can I look through this box? Yeah, go ahead. So there was a lot more than it seemed like the lady knew about. And then when I went through all of those, then she found another box. And none of the boxes were like full. They'd all be maybe 1/3 to 1/2 full for the most part. But it was just they were like kind of spread out everywhere. There was no rhyme or reason to most of the stuff. It was just so much stuff in there. Um, so I'm looking and I'm digging, and I picked up a few things I'll show you in a second. But I was very disappointed because the guy at the old man con who told me about this place, he was way off. I mean, he wasn't even 40%. That's a lot of underground books. That's a lot of books for any store of any size. 40%. You know what I mean? So I was like really ticked off that I didn't, find any in there pretty much at all. And it was like, I was so looking forward to finding stuff in there, and it was like, it was a dud. It was a dud. Cool store if you're just going in there, but just needs to be a lot more organized because it has the potential. I had one box and I opened up just a random box. I went in it and there was like 3 or 4 runs of Wolverine Volume 1, the Frank Miller Wolverine. And I don't know what happened to my issue number 2, but I was like, oh man, you know, they got all 4 issues, multiple copies of most of them, but they wouldn't sell me the number 2. They were only selling it in the series, the whole 4 books. So I wasn't able to pick up a copy of that. But my whole point is, they were in a random box, just like a random box. You know, it was a lot of random stuff. It was just stuff everywhere. You know, you didn't know there were new books like all over the store, just all over the place. It really needs a lot more organization. It has the potential to be so much better, in my opinion. Let me show you what I got. This is a book, a run that I already had, but I was thinking maybe I would read this on the plane. One of the this story is incredible. If you're into horror books, this is a book called Severed. I can't remember how many copies are in that run. It might be 8 or 10 or 12. I don't recall, but I did find the first 3 copies in there in the dollar box. And I remember, you know, when I first got my hands on this some years ago, that wow, this was really kind of eerie. You know, when I finished the whole thing, it was okay. That was kind of scary, but so that was cool. I'll probably pass those along. I found this Jazz Legend #1. Found that in the dollar box. I have a series called Slots that I know I have the first few copies of that, at least the first 3 or 4. And I did read those a while back and enjoyed them. And I'm not sure how many I have. They're buried somewhere. But I did come across issue number 6. It's a boxing story. Long story short, boxing and gambling and betting and all of that kind of stuff. And I also came across issue number 8. There's a good chance I might have those already, but if my memory serves me correct, I don't have the entire run. There's still some, so I might have these, I might not. I didn't really recognize the covers because there were a few in there I was like, I definitely have these. But these I wasn't sure of, so I picked those up. So I gotta dig the rest of them out and see what I'm missing or whatever, because I would really love to finish this story. And then here's another book I've picked up out of other dollar boxes. This is called Jazz Maynard, I guess. And that's another jazz book, a music book or whatever. This is issue number 1. I do believe I have issue number 2 and issue number 4. So I believe I'm missing issue number 3, if I'm not mistaken. So these all came out of the dollar box. This one I'm going to show you in another video, so I'll save that one. And then this one, I think I have this before, but I wasn't sure, so I picked it up anyway. This is issue number 3 of Dead Eyes, another book that I dug the art in. I'm pretty sure I have this copy already, or at least a copy of this book, but I don't recall exactly. But I'm definitely gonna have to look for the entire run with this, because this looks pretty cool. The art is cool. It's like, I don't know what it's about, but definitely cool, man. Image has so many cool books. So that was all the stuff I pulled out of the dollar box at Velvet Underground. And then I picked up issue number 2 and issue number 3 of The World to Come. I didn't know this was like a Black Panther book. It looks like Black Panther. But, oh, that cover is so cool. But I've been hearing stuff about it, and I wasn't like finding a whole lot on this trip, because I thought I was going to spend some serious money on underground books in there, and it just didn't happen. So I had heard about this book. they only had 2 and 3, so that's what I picked up, and that's everything I got from Velvet Underground. The next store I went to was called Red Hood Comics, and now this was a store for the serious collector. Man, this store had nice size stores, like long narrow store, and everything in there was in mint condition, at least the back issue stuff. And they had all of their comic bins were in like these. They looked like custom made wood uh, cases. I mean, they were beautiful. You know, it looked like furniture. It didn't look like your average comic bins. They looked like custom made pieces of furniture, something that you would put, you know, in your living room or something. Not that you would put comic bins in there, but you know what I'm saying. It was a nice piece of furniture, and they were super long, and all of their books were just. They had a nice selection of comic magazines. They had. I did find a few undergrounds here and there. A lot of them were graded, which is my next point. Now, I'm not into graded books. I don't buy graded books. I don't care for graded books. I am a reader. But 50% of that store was graded books. So you know how you're in the comic bins and you're going through the bins, you're digging through the bins. Well, that's how their graded book section was. It was like in bins, and you could go through them, and they had a zillion of them. All of the books on the wall, like wallpaper, was just all graded books from the ceiling all the way down. So they are seriously, if you're looking for graded books, if you want to actually dig, that is the place that you would go. Man, I'm not into graded books, but I was impressed by the volume, the actual number of graded books that they had in there. So they were on, all of the walls were covered with them. They had bins that, man, went all the way down one side of the store. Like if you ever go in there and you see what I'm saying, you'll go, oh man, this is a lot of books. And then underneath the bins, they were like, there was just rows and rows of them underneath there that you could dig through as well. And I saw probably a good handful or two of graded um, underground comics on the wall. So they were very helpful in there, helping me find stuff. Um, One of the things I asked for was I was missing issue number 5 of World War Hulk, and I've talked about that in some previous videos. So I now have that whole run, so I can start reading that. And then this next one, can I even show you? Oh, this next one I'm not going to show you. I'll just say that I'm saving this for one of my Corbin videos. So I'm not gonna tell you what that is right now. So I picked up two books in there, and then I was like, "Do you have any cheap bins?" Because a lot of the stuff on my list are like books I would find in the 50 cent or dollar bins. And they were like, "No, everything here at this store is 5 and up, but we have 2 other stores that have cheaper stuff." So he gave me, I can't. It was some kind of toy store. It wasn't far away, but he said that they had a back room that was full of books. But then he said they were like $3 books. And if you buy like 20, no, if you buy 10 books, then they drop down to $2. So I went over there. I spent maybe 10 minutes in that place, and all those books, they weren't worth $3. They weren't worth $2. They were worth $1 at very best. And most of the stuff was Marvel or DC, just worthless stuff. I mean, $2 would have been way too much. So I looked around in a few of them boxes. That wasn't it. And so I left out of there. And it was getting like this was probably around 4 o'clock, and a lot of those stores closed at 5. There were some that closed at 6, and some that closed at 7. And I should have went to just one of the ones that closed at 5, because I think they would have been better than where I actually ended up going. Um, and I don't really know my way around Vegas like that, so I didn't want to just, you know, drive all over the place. It turns out that the all the stores I went in were like all pretty much in the same part of town, like Velvet Underground and oh, what is it called? Red Hood were pretty much across the street from each other. And then another one was like maybe 2 miles away, and then the other one was probably 3 miles, 3 4 miles from that. So they were all in, the same vicinity. So this last place I went to, I hope I'm getting this right. I think it was called Comics and Stuff, and it was inside of a mall. I haven't been inside of a mall in years. And this mall, whatever the name of this mall was, it was like full functioning mall, had all of the stores in it and everything. I was just like, wow, man, I haven't been in a mall that had all of the stores open. I haven't been in a mall in a long time, but the last time I was in a mall was maybe 3 4 years ago, and like 90% of the stores were closed. But so I went in there, and even before I walked in there, because I've been in maybe maybe two other comic shops that was inside of a mall. And anytime you go inside of a mall, you're not gonna get like much quality in your books. You might find some new stuff, but back issues, you're not gonna find anything too deep in there. There was a ton of toys and graphic novels and stuff like that, but I didn't find anything. That their new issues weren't very extensive at all. But I did find issue number 1 of The World to Come. So I do have those first 3 issues. I don't know if I'll go any further, with that title. Not at, retail prices or whatever. Because I tend to stay away from superhero books. And the only reason why this book was brought to my attention is because I guess it has a lot of hip hop elements in it, or rap elements, or at least a few. So I saw something on Instagram, and they were showing off, some, sprinkles of rap music in there, stuff like that. So that's the only reason why I picked it up, because I kind of want to check out the story. But I'm not sure if I'll go any further than that. So I picked up that in there. And then I did pick up, what issue is this? This is number 1 of Daredevil battling, aka battling Matt Murdock. Is the name of that story. Now I have at least 2 other copies or issues of this. This is a 4-issue series. I now have 3 of the 4. And the other 2 that I bought, I did read one of them. I think I read issue number 2, and I really liked the story and decided I was going to go for that whole run. And the other 2 issues that I have, I definitely got them out of the dollar bin, either dollar bins or 50-cent bins. So, yeah, I just need one more copy. Number 3, I believe I need one more. I don't recall which one. 1, 2. I think I need issue number 3, and then that run will be complete, and then I can start over again and read that from the beginning. So yeah, that was my latest comic haul, and I wanted to share that with you guys. Sometimes I'll buy comics and I don't even think about making a video, and then I'll just kind of file them away or get them taken care of, and then they're all over the place and put away and split up, and then I'm like, okay, well, I have no video because I'm not going to go back and try to figure out what was in there. But this one, I thought I definitely wanted to tell you guys, about the guy at the record show and the cool stuff I pulled out of there, And then, Vegas, anytime you go out of town and you do any kind of haul, it's worth, making a video about. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. All right. So that's what I got for now. There are more videos coming. I got more Corbin videos. I have more Nubian Queen videos. And I'll soon be starting this other series of comic videos where I talk about your limited runs. So, look forward to those sometime in the future. For now, that's all I got. Thanks for hanging out. This is Daryl D. You guys be safe, all right? Take care of each other. Peace and love.